Hello, everyone. My name is Ms. Karishma Angela Vincent. I am a faculty at the Department of International Relations from Women's Christian College, Chennai. Today, we'll be dealing with a very interesting topic about the political structure, governance, and the functioning of the People's Republic of China. So as we move through this session, I will present to you a PowerPoint which will enable you to understand this topic in a more effective manner. So let us begin. I will share my screen now. I hope the PowerPoint is clear to you. So as we have discussed, today's topic will be the political system and the structure of the PRC, which is nothing but the People's Republic of China. So in today's class, we will be dealing with the understanding of the Chinese Communist Party, about the State Council or the Chinese governance system, about the National People's Congress, and finally about the People's Liberation Army. So as we move through the session, I have just brought to your notice this very representative flow chart, which explains to us about the party structure, about the National People's Congress, which is the legislative wing of the PRC, and towards my right is the State Council, which is the administrative or the governing body of China, and finally followed by the judicial system. So I just want to give you a very brief understanding about this flowchart, which will be easy for us to understand each of these subheadings as we move on through this session. Okay, so the first we will be dealing about the party, the Chinese Communist Party. As most of us are aware, it is the largest politically existent organization in the world, and the party consists of close to 89 million party members, and the highest decision making authority of the party is the political bureau, which is popularly known as the Politburo. The Politburo functions under the able leadership of the 7-member Politburo Standing Committee. The Politburo also consists of a secretariat which manages the Military Affairs Commission and other committees which are existent at various levels of political organization. For example, at the provincial level, municipal, country, township, and finally at the village level, party committee membership as well. Moving on to the People's Congress, the National People's Congress is the legislative wing of the People's Republic of China. It operates under the principles of the Chinese Constitution. The head of the National People's Congress will be the president and the vice president. The present president, as you all know, is President Xi Jinping, and the president of China is also the general secretary, who is the most powerful individual leader of the Chinese Communist Party as well. So the NPC, which is the People's Congress, also has a standing committee. The standing committee takes care of the provincial, country, township, and village level Congress administration as well. Moving on to the State Council. The State Council is the administrative wing which is responsible for all the department level policy making and decision making for China. So even at the State Council level, we have the provincial, municipal, country, township, and village level administrations going on, and the head of the State Council will be the premier. The current premier of China is Premier Li Qiang. Finally, with respect to the judiciary system, China follows the rule of law principle, where the existence and the eminence of the judiciary is very much important. But as we know that China is a political party governed country, and the ultimate decision making and the political power is under the hands of the Chinese Communist Party. So very similar to the People's Congress and to the State Council, the judiciary also falls under the decision making power of the Chinese Communist Party. So let us move on to discuss about the individual wings. So these are just important highlights from what we have discussed, consisting of the key terms. So the NPC, National People's Congress, is the legislative wing, which is led by the president. The State Council is the executive wing, which is led by the premier. And the NPC, State Council, and the Supreme Court, along with the Procuratorate, obeys the Congress decisions. Moving on to the Chinese Communist Party, as I mentioned, it is the largest political party with a 89 million member population, which is governed by the Politburo along with the Standing Committee. And the head of the Politburo and the party is the General Secretary. So what are the details about the Chinese Communist Party? Well, the party was established in Shanghai during the year 1921 on July 20th. So the Chinese Communist Party was a underground Marxist-Leninist party following Marxist-Leninist principles, and they were initially organized into smaller groups called as cells, and they operated upon the principle of democratic centralism, wherein there was a representative decision making when it came to policy deliberations. But once the debates and the deliberations end and the decision is made by the party leadership, then that is a decision which goes into a unquestioning support from the members of the party, and the power undisputedly lies with the party leadership. The party has a very powerful decision-making process, and the senior party officials are the ultimate decision-making authorities. So the party controls the Politburo, the Standing Committee, under the guideship of the General Secretary, and also the party has its power on the National People's Congress, which is headed by the president, the state government, which is headed by the premier, and as we discussed earlier, on the other stakeholders of political governance, for example, commercial organizations, enterprises, universities, institutions, foreign-owned enterprises. All these are part of the complex decision-making authority which decide for China under the guideship of the Chinese Communist Party. So this is a small pictorial representation where we can see that from the Central Military Commission and moving on to the Council, the NPC, the Court, Supreme Court, and the Procuratorate, which comes under the command of the Chinese Communist Party. So moving on to discuss what is the Politburo or the Political Bureau. The Political Bureau, as we saw in the flow chart, is a 7-member powerful committee which is headed by the General Secretary. So during October 15 to 21, 2007, the Politburo goes into a reform where now the Politburo has an extended committee of 25 members, which included 9 new members then. So about the Politburo Standing Committee, the Standing Committee also forms the top leadership of the Chinese Communist Party, and historically it had 5 to 11 members who mandated on the policy discussions and on the major decision making. Moving on to the National People's Congress. So as we have already discussed, the Congress is the legislative wing of the People's Republic of China, which is governed by the principles of the Chinese Constitution. So according to Article 57 of the Chinese Constitution, the NPC is the highest organ of state power, and it has the elected members who are the president and the vice president, who are the highest office bearers as part of the NPC. And under Article 85 and 92 of the Chinese Constitution, the State Council is the executive or the administrative arm. A few more points about the People's Congress. The National People's Congress convenes a key meeting once in 5 years at Beijing for overall policy and decision-making directives under the Political Bureau's senior party officials' guideship. The NPC is organized into a hierarchical networking framework which operates at several layers of governance such as local, municipal, and political level, party congresses, and committees. So moving on to the important powers and functions of the NPC. So the NPC has the power to make and amend the laws as per the Chinese constitution. They oversee and supervise the legal enactments. They approve and devise the economic and budgetary plans. They discuss and decide on the questions of war and peace, which are very eminent for the Chinese national security. They decide on the choice of the premier, that is the election of the premier to the state council. And they decide on the other higher authorities of state council, such as the vice premier, councillors, and ministers as well. So again, this is a minor flow chart representing the different organs and powers of the National People's Congress. About the secretariat is again a subordinate body to the Chinese Communist Party, which also oversees the policies and the decision-making process within the Politburo. Moving on to the State Council. So about the State Council, all of you by now will know that it is the executive and the administrative arm, which is led by the premier and along with the other set of higher officials such as the vice premiers, ministers, and councillors as well. So the few important ministries which come under the governance of the State Council will be the Ministry of Commerce, Foreign Affairs, Administration, Customs, Tourism, Child Welfare, Education, etc. So who are the ministers? The ministers are the government level representatives who also come under the effective subordination of the State Council under the leadership of the Chinese Communist Party, who are involved in the policy deliberations and decision-making process. Under the ministers will be the group of civil servants who are actually the government representatives and officials who play a very effective role in the direct implementation of all the political as well as the administrative decisions. So finally, about the People's Liberation Army. The People's Liberation Army, as we know, is one of the world's most powerful military organizations and army complexes that the world has ever witnessed. And the supreme commander of the People's Liberation Army is President Xi Jinping. According to the Chinese system, the president, who is also the general secretary, is the supreme commander to the army as well. And here the president will head the Central Military Commission. So when we say that the president is the supreme military commander, we have to understand that all security, foreign as well as domestic security decisions, policies, and the questions of war and peace will be deliberated, and ultimately the decision making will be done by the president. So the authoritative bodies under the PLA will be the Central Military Commission, which is a state entity, and the commission, which can also be understood as one of the party organs as well. So this is a representation of the PLA structure. So such as any other army, the PLA also has the guideship of the Politburo, and under the State Council manages the Ministry of National Defense, and the Central Military Commission manages the PLA's army headquarters, the Navy headquarters, Air Force, rocket, and then they have divided their command controls according to geographic locations as eastern, southern, western, northern, and central as well. So I will stop sharing my presentation. I hope this online session and this very brief introduction about the political governance and the structure of the People's Republic China was informative and useful to all of you. Thank you very much.